547 days since Sebastian Rogers was reported missing. 547 days since his father, Seth Rogers, has hugged him, seen him, spoken to him, known where he is. 547 days where Sebastian's parent, Seth Rogers, has searched virtually alone. 547 days of begging the lead agency, the sheriff, Eric Craddock, to answer his calls, to communicate to him, to be honest and not lie to him, to answer emails, to read emails, to respond to emails, to answer tips, to respond to tips, to follow through with tips, to communicate honestly, transparently, to do a news conference, anything, to say his name, Sebastian Rogers, to run a campaign that actually realized, hey, look, I have a child missing and I have a campaign. I'm going to use my campaign to bring awareness to this missing child. Oh no. 547 days of almost all silence, at least since April of 2024. The father had to go protest today outside the office of Sumner County Sheriff Office, the sheriff's office. Sadly, from what I've heard, the sheriff never surfaced. Never went out to tell that father, don't you worry, we're here. Well, let's talk about this. Seth Rogers found out his child was missing out of Hendersonville, Tennessee, where his ex-wife was supervising. With locked doors, she claims, at night and locked in the morning, but Sebastian nowhere to be found. Flashlights were caught on the neighbor's footage, yet the sheriff, Eric Craddock, said they were trash trucks, which was ludicrous to most, to all, because the mother had said Sebastian's last chore was taking the trash to the front of the house at the end of the driveway, not to the backyard. It was a ludicrous statement. He then was upset because it got leaked. Yes, it did. Saying he hadn't seen it or they didn't have it. The source wasn't sure which was said, which is also ludicrous because they were watching it day one at the command post. They knew there were flashlights. They knew there was a sedan. Yet they have a father who has enough stress of being the only parent searching, allegedly, that we've seen. And he still has to beg law enforcement to try and get involved somehow, to do their jobs, or pack their bags. Because you know what, my friends? This man was elected. And if you live in that town, please, I hope your child never goes missing, because this will be a repeat of what's going on with Sebastian, in my opinion. There's no care. There's no raising awareness. There's no kindness to a father and understanding. They have made his life that is so unimaginable even worse, if you can imagine that, which is even unimaginable. Collecting a paycheck, but not doing their duties. Ignoring ransom demands. Not following tips. Having the voice messaging go to retired employees. Not giving instructions on a tip line of where to leave a tip for Sebastian. Not doing updates on their pages, social media, but yet they'll tell what other crimes they're trying to crack. I ask you, Eric Craddock, what is it about Sebastian Rogers' case that has you scared? That has you questioning people when they come through your office doors at that department to see who they are before you'll come out, allegedly, in my opinion. Eric Craddock, Why won't you tell this father where Sebastian is? Why won't you tell this father what you are doing? And if you're doing nothing, why don't you ask the bigwigs who can handle it to come in and help? The U.S. Marshals, the FBI. Is there a reason, Eric Craddock, you wouldn't want that? You're the one everyone's looking at, waiting for you to say it, to do it, to call them in. And we're all scratching our heads wondering, why aren't you? So we ask you, why aren't you? Why don't you want people who can come in and competently find Sebastian to be involved? I'm sure your files are up to date. I'm sure your files are very thorough. I'm sure the investigation you conducted from moment one was top notch according to the Department of Justice investigation guidelines. So you have nothing to worry about. Why not call him in? Do what the father needs, wants, what is best for Sebastian. So Seth Rogers, 547 days of searching for his son virtually alone with a team that he has hired now. And I gave you an update on that today. There has been a possible alert to the channels monitoring Sebastian's biometrics and facial identities. Go watch that video. We're on the edge of our seats waiting to see if indeed it turns out to be Sebastian. It is not confirmed yet, but it is not debunked. So is Mr. Craddock out there on the edge of his seat wondering if that's Sebastian? Well, there's a father, Seth Rogers, searching alone for his son. Last I heard, Sebastian's mother was at Disney World. He's searching alone with Dog the Bounty Hunter at night, one world, because he stands alone in that town. The sheriff is silent. Seth protested today out front of the sheriff's office, and he said he doesn't even know if a detective is assigned to the case anymore. Wow. They took an oath to protect and serve. But are they doing that? Are they just collecting their paychecks? I'd think about that before the upcoming election, Sumner County. If it's your child, do you want someone who's going to hide behind his office door, who doesn't open emails, who doesn't have a tip line with instructions, who doesn't answer and follow leads? Ignores ransom demands? And that's not alleged. I was a part of all of that. I was there. Imagine the terror that it could be real. And the sheriff says nothing. Oh, wait, excuse me. There was a special meeting called so he could fight for his raise. But I mean, he said nothing about the ransom. He didn't tell the public who was afraid, who was hearing about it. Threats to Sebastian's life, said nothing. To this day, he has said nothing to his public about their safety. What's he afraid of? Could it be if the marshals came in and saw that an Amber Alert was sounded and there's vehicle footage, but yet there was no description provided? Why are we trying to pretend that footage didn't exist? If we give a vehicle description, that tells people there's footage, right? If we say there's flashlights, that tells people there's footage, right? Why wouldn't you want footage? If you give a vehicle a suspect description, that tells people you've seen your footage. Why are we wanting people to think there is no footage? There was no footage. Why would you ask for the audio from me if you didn't think anything occurred in the backyard? Something's going on, and I ask, why does a father have to beg a sheriff and a lead detective to do their jobs? And why don't they care about a missing child? allegedly, in my opinion, because this is for entertainment purposes only. And I am speculating, theorizing based on shocking developments and updates. A father standing out there without law enforcement, but yet they won't call in the marshals. They won't ask the FBI. I wonder why. What would the FBI and the marshals say when they saw that footage and that sedan and that other red car and an Amber Alert that didn't provide vehicle descriptions? What would the marshals say if they came in and they saw that there had never been crime scene tape up and around the home? What would the marshals say if they came in and heard there had been no press conferences, no raising of awareness since April 2nd of 2024 from Sumner County? What would they say if they heard all of the statements by the mother who was with Sebastian that are conflicting, misleading? Would they wonder why law enforcement hasn't pressed that issue? It's against the law. They've also said to the father, there's no evidence Sebastian left the home. Well, if there's no evidence he's left the home and the doors were locked, it makes one think you might want to talk to the mother a little bit more, correct? So a father stands in front and he protests and he says, if you're not going to do your job, pack your bags and get out. He wonders, is it incompetence or is it corruption? I wonder too. Let's remember that interview we watched several times of Craddock slouched in a chair April 2nd when Nick Barris is interviewing him and caught him at the press conference and kind of cornered him for an interview, is the way my source told it. That's okay. And he slumped in a chair, answering, nope, 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 looks very scared. Why? Why? Is it because he's realized no one's going to let this go? Is it because he realizes that this isn't going away? Whitley got out of the kitchen. He's getting out. This is his last week. Is it going to get too hot for Craddock in the kitchen? What's going on? When a father has to beg them to do a job and a community has elected someone who collects their paycheck and ignores the crime, the most high-profile crime in their community. They've lied to the father more than once. They've broken that trust. The lead detective, according to Seth Rogers, stopped returning calls, opening his emails once he sent them a list of things to look into. Why? Why wouldn't they? That's Mr. Carter's only job, his only case. What else is he doing to collect his paycheck if he can't honor a list from the father of the missing child? I mean, he sure as heck isn't out there boots on the ground. Sumner County, I ask you, what's he doing to collect his paycheck if he can't answer emails and return phone calls and respond to ransom demands? Are they incompetent? Are they baby scouts pretending to be soldiers at war, but now they're in so deep they don't want to call in the soldiers because they'd be embarrassed? Perhaps. I don't know. Looks like it, doesn't it? Or, I hate to say it, is there corruption so they can't call them in? Allegedly, because if they do, their little asses are going to be on the line? Looks like it, doesn't it? But we don't know. A community runs the community. This man's running Sumner County and telling them, I mean, their commissioners voted down their right to speak at commission meetings. They don't care about the people. They care about themselves. They care about their jobs. They care about what they want, the means to get what they want. And clearly, it is not the people helping them get what they want. They got a good old boy system going on in there when they don't even want the people's voices heard. And someone can be ignoring a life-threatening ransom and still have the cojones to go to a meeting and ask for a raise. And a father is pleading for them to do their jobs. Well, guess what? They think they're so untouchable. Oh no. This is high profile enough, my friends, that there are other eyes on this. There are other eyes on this. There are other eyes, important eyes, aware of this. I can't tell you what they're going to do, if they're going to do, but they're aware, and it's more than one agency. Okay? More than one. So if this guy thinks that this is just going to go away, it ain't. It's not. Zip, zilch, not happening, because we care about children. So he better start getting in the game and start talking about Sebastian. And stop putting a father through more torment than he already is going through, not knowing where his child is. That is the most disgusting thing. They're supposed to be protecting. I mean, look what they're doing to Sebastian. Ignoring. Why don't they care about Sebastian when they hear he's being hurt, possibly, or ransoms, or he'll be unalive? Why don't they care? Why don't they get into action? Do they know something? Were they somewhere allegedly? Go back a couple of my videos. Do you feel your child safe? Or are you just living in Sumner County grateful it's not your child? When you go to vote, think about that. You want a strong sheriff, not one who slumps in a chair, one who stands tall because he's confident, not one who's afraid, terrified, looking. Seth asked Craddock, where's my son? Why are you too pig-headed to ask for assistance? I think there's two answers to that. Embarrassment and incompetence and corruption. 3. Embarrassment because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. Incompetence because of incompetence and or corruption. And what's sadder is he has one lead detective. Well, we don't know if he's on the case anymore, and he's not even supervising the lead detective to do the right thing and follow up on calls. So a father is 547 days into it, standing in front of a sheriff's office by himself, without his child, not knowing where he is, without the child's mother, not knowing where she is probably, and doing this alone with a lead agency who won't call in people who are capable, who won't talk to the father, who won't be honest to the father, who won't return his emails and phone calls, who won't help him find his son. Pack your bags and get out. If you don't want to protect children, pack your bags and get out, Craddock. And Sumner County, don't just act appalled. Your vote needs to show you're appalled. Get this man out. He doesn't deserve to be there. He doesn't solve crimes. And he certainly isn't solving this one. 547 days, Hendersonville, Tennessee. A sheriff who won't look. A sheriff who won't do press releases or conferences. And he says he doesn't care what the public, what Seth Rogers, the father, thinks. or what his constituents think. Imagine that, because he knows he's going to get voted in. I wonder how he knows that. Who's giving him that confidence? Well, let me tell you, Whitley's confidence withered away and he ran. Who's going to be next? Who's the next domino to fall? Because we're not giving up till Sebastian's located. We certainly are not giving up until he is located. He deserves better than this. And like Seth said, this is the sheriff, by the way, who has chosen not to speak. This is the lead detective, Brandon Carter, who has one case and is collecting a paycheck. And this leads me to many questions. Is Sumner County Sheriff's Office going to get in the game? Oops, sorry. Is Sumner County Sheriff's Office going to get, into the game? Are they? During the investigation into their investigation, because that's going to happen, my friends, will incompetence or corruption be found? There will be an investigation into this investigation of Sumner County. And let's just say this won't be allowed. It's not going to be the good old boys carrying this through. Do they realize their silence speaks volumes, ignoring tips and ransom demands? I have questions. Why? One of my biggest questions is, why are they not concerned about Sebastian? What do they know that when they hear he's going to be unalived if a ransom isn't paid and they ignore it, they don't care, they don't do it? What do they know? Or do they just not care about Sebastian? I can't believe that. It's got to be knowledge, in my opinion. And then my final question, but I think it's a biggie. I really do. My final question is, have Eric Craddock or Brandon Carter ever met Sebastian Rogers? I would like to know that. Have Eric Craddock or Brandon Carter ever met Sebastian Rogers? If any of you know the answer to that question, please let me know. I think it's very important. Why wouldn't Eric Craddock and Brandon Carter want to search for a child who isn't home? Why wouldn't they worry if his life's being threatened? Why wouldn't they want to deal with a ransom demand? Why would they just pretend they didn't hear it? Why are they so difficult to a father? Instead of being difficult to the mother who doesn't give a you-know-what, is at Disney World, here, there, doesn't do media, doesn't search, allegedly, in my opinion, why aren't they giving her a harder time? She was the last one with him. Did they do an investigation? What happened to Sonny Weatherford? Allegedly, in my opinion. I've got lots of questions, and we're going to keep asking them till Sebastian's home. Thank you so very much for being here. I do truly appreciate it. Hit that notification bell. And until next time, keep keeping on.